Gents, I just want to pause the episode for a moment to let you know about the Strong Men of Value Academy. You will have heard me refer to it a number of times, and I want to bring more attention to it. So this isn't just a program, it's a life-changing environment and community of men who are focused on personal and professional growth. We're looking at areas of relationships, wealth, and health, things to help you thrive and maximize your life. Imagine having bi-monthly one-on-one coaching sessions with myself, weekly group coaching calls, and an incredible brotherhood of high achievers by your side. Now we're diving into resilience, leadership, and holistic growth to not just succeed in your career, but to thrive in your health and your relationships. Your journey to greatness, it starts here. So join the movement and you can apply for the Strong Men of Value Academy. You can head to themanthatcanproject.com to find out more. Have you ever felt like giving up? Today, myself and Mitch Lippiatt is back on, and we're talking about his suicide attempt, and even at the start of the year when he wrote a suicide note. Now, today is pretty heavy, this episode, so if you're experiencing any suicidal ideation or struggle with any of the stuff discussed in this episode, remember there's Lifeline on 13, 11, 14, and there are so many incredible organizations out there to help you through the challenging time. So we're going to chat about why I started Men's Group and what the benefits for me have been around having Men's Group in the Man That Can project, what's going on in your life, feeling trapped, rebuilding from a suicide attempt, hearing the words from someone that you love that you're pathetic, what that was like and how Mitchie grew through that. So it is deep, but it is real, and I think it's something that we need to have more conversations around, because the statistics show that it is so much more common, these thoughts and even these actions and attempts, than many of us are aware of. So I think having the conversations, learning to break the stigma around them is something that we need to do. So today's episode is going to be very, very important for you to listen to. And as I said, if there's any triggering conversations or anything like that, reach out to your lifelines or seek professional help. Now, gents, we're week one in our game plan, and the game plans launch every month within the Strong Men of Value Academy. And as I talk about in this episode, why I started a men's group originally back in 2017, it was so that I could have access to men from all walks of life who were prepared to talk about what it took to be successful, and success across multiple areas, from relationships to finances to lifestyle to health. Okay, but also what the sacrifices were, the struggles, the heartaches, what they had to overcome, and how to navigate that, because that's often what people don't talk about. You think about social media. People want to portray the best version of themselves, want to portray the highlights reel, and I don't blame them for that. But we all also know that struggle is fucking real, and it sucks, and quite often you can find yourself in a position where you feel like you're the only one who has ever gone through this. And once again, as I talk about in this episode with Mitch, 9 times out of 10, what we're currently going through, someone has been through and overcome before. So if people spoke about it more often, we would have more perspectives and opinions to lean on in order to help us grow through it. And that's why I believe the power of your network will rapidly increase the power of your life, from happiness to lifestyle to all of these important things that we're striving towards. So if you feel like you would gain value from the Academy, you need some more accountability, you need more structure, and you want to be held to a high level to pursue your potential, check out the Strong Men of Value Academy. Head to themanthatcanproject.com/Strong Men of Value. I look forward to reading your applications and connecting with you guys soon. Enough from me now. Let's have a yarn with Mitchie. The Man That Can Project podcast, a podcast empowering career-driven men to live more fulfilling lives. We are here to challenge your beliefs, redefine success, and talk about the important stuff in a relatable way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. My name's Lachie Stuart. Let's get into it. Episode 2 with Mitchie Moo. Mate, let's get straight into it. So,
alrighty.
We didn't get into the stuff that I wanted to last time. We were even having a chat in the office yesterday.
Yeah, we did. Got a few talking points to get through today. I even remember when we came into the last one, we had a bit of a pre-chat for the last podcast, like it'd be good to get into some, the darker stuff and a few little struggles here and there. But obviously, we went on too many tangents and
we hit the tangent train, but it was still good.
It was great. I actually am so happy with the response from the last podcast. I must have been pulled up by 20, 30 people telling me how much they enjoyed it, which actually really was special to me because I actually thought people were going to be listening to it. Oh, yeah, cool. And then that was going to be it.
But this is what I think is extremely important. So many people undervalue their own life experience. Often we look up to people on social media or so many other influences in our life or way that we get inspired, but we often don't take the time to go, I'm actually worthy and I have experience and I have stuff that deserves to be shared and can empower other people, and that's what you're experiencing. And so many people experience it when they get off the podcast because everyone's like, I can really connect with that, I can relate with that, or mate, it's so brave you sharing that, and various things like that, which for me then goes, I told you so.
Literally.
I don't like saying that, but
told you so.
But
it's like when I caught up with Ollie, I pulled him up at work the other day at Function Well, and I was like, mate, like the amount of relation I got from your knee injury story from my own and, depression, demons, all that sort of stuff. And I just sit there listening to it, and I was like, holy fuck, like this is just really hitting the nail on the head when it comes to how I felt. And he articulated it so well that I was just sitting there listening to it. It was kind of like I feel very connected to that. And it was really good for me to hear that too, because I saw Ollie the other day training, doing whatever, just getting amongst it. And I was like, I love seeing that, someone who's like been through that and they're doing what they want to do, they're doing what they love. And I always like so much more observant of that now because I'm like, I almost need that. Because I need that because I've got so many doubts and shit when it comes to my own knee and my own injuries that I'm like, fuck, I don't know if I'll ever get back to that. But then you see that happen, you go, oh, fuck, mint, that's awesome.
And that's the thing. So many, like, majority of things that we experience throughout life, someone has gone through and conquered before. But obviously, when you're in that dark place, when the demons do arise, etc., you feel like you're all alone and you're the only one who's ever gone through something like that. It's because we put the blinders on and just consume ourselves in what we don't now have, or the problem in itself, rather than putting our head up for air or looking to the left and looking to the right to go and, oh, he's been through what I've been through, let's pick his brain. Or even still, like when you can get a few runs on the board, you can sit back and go, okay, well, if it hasn't been done, for example, if someone hasn't overcome, which I would find very unlikely with 7 billion people around the place, it's like, well, what has to happen in order for you to be the leader in that space?
Exactly, yeah. That's a really good way of putting it. And I think that's one thing that I've been finding more and more of with each new episode that comes out of this podcast is each guest, there is one or two or three snippets that just resonate with me so much. Like with Dane, so much of what he said when it came to relationships, and with Emma when she talked about being busy and being and glorifying the hustle. And I was like, holy fuck, that speaks to me so much. And with Ollie with his knee, and Sam, just talking about Sam with everything Sam had to talk about, like it resonates with me so strong because I'm a trainer and I love training and it's my passion. So it's one thing that I've been finding with each new episode. I'm just like, that right there is speaking to me on a whole new level. And when you get out of your own head and you stop your own language and your own voice and you hear it and you hear someone else articulate it, it's like this whole new like light has been shined on that topic because you're like, oh, I didn't think of it like that, or I love the way that sounds, and it hits you so much harder, which is great.
That's, when we first started men's circles back in like 2017, that was what I originally sought, because I knew after I just obviously started reading books and listening to podcasts that there were bound to be people in the local, Newstead for us, that could help me or help me articulate what I was feeling. And because often, if you don't ever practice saying what you want to say, there's so many people who are limited by the fact that I don't know how to say what I want to say, and that there is a first fucking mistake, because you never flex the muscle, you never throw the words out there, you never write the words down and then can formulate and restructure your deliverables, right? How you want to articulate yourself. So by being in a room, or like we are in the academy, or even at Function Well, being around people who are doing that, you can sit, like I don't even have to hardly speak. With a lot of the people that I surround myself with, often I don't, because it's like I just am so in such awe with how people are communicating about certain things and how they speak about it, that I'm like, it's just piecing together all the shit going on in my life, as you mentioned. And I'm like, I'm eternally grateful for this, because next time I experience this, or if I go home to journal and brain dump, I now have a new way of structuring what's going on in my life and making sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I had a tangent I was going to go on just before, and I was I was so like into what you were saying. It's all right. I'll come back to it. But yeah.
Let's dive to the deep stuff, bro.
All right.
So when I first met you, so you've been a part of the Man at Camp project for 4 years.
Yep. So just real quick. So you said you started in 2017. So I knew it in 2018. That makes me feel so good.
You're one of the OGs.
One of the OGs, bro.
I think one of the OGs is Dave.
Yeah, right. Is that who's in this morning?
No.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember who was in this morning, but not because I don't care, it's just my brain is frazzled right now. Because I'm like, what day is it? No, but Dave is one of the OGs for the Man at Camp project. So you're up there as well, mate. One of the longest serving members.
Yeah, I love that so much.
Product of your environment.
Yeah, and it's definitely shown through with the person I was back then. A lot of drinking, a lot of drugs, a lot of just really making a lot of bad decisions, and a lot of harsh emotions, things that like led to self-abuse, and things that led to suicide attempts, things like that all just over the past 4 years and things like that has come about in a way that's like, I look back on it now and I think, I was still even though I was 24, I still look at it, I'm like kind of like, you were still just a child. Like you were still just
legitimately.
Really, like I think about now, like, and like I said in the last podcast, the last 6 to 8 months has been the time in my life where I've just been like, time to be a man, time to be a fucking man now, because you are really.
But when you say time to be a fucking man, what does that mean to you? Like, what does that look like in your world?
Well, like I said, with the injury when I was off, I was relying so much on my partner, and I was, like I said, I was just had my head in the sand. I was ignoring so many of my own responsibilities. But once that ended and I was on my own and I was looking around, I was just kind of like, fuck, I am not looking after myself. I gained a lot of weight. I have to show this photo of me that was taken in December.
Yeah, bring it up.
And I was gaining a lot of weight. I was drinking all the time, and I was just like, I stopped caring. I stopped putting in all this effort, and it really showed. And that's when I was just kind of like, time to be a fucking man, because you can't keep doing this. This is actually really toxic and really bad for you and your potential progress that you can make.
Yep.
Because I was just like, I don't know, I was just putting so much blame on all this other shit that I was like forgetting to take my own responsibility. This photo right here, that was taken in like December.
Wow.
Yeah.
For those who want to see it, it's on YouTube. I've got the phone to the screen. Wow. Maybe you'll even do a little reel for this, Mitchie.
Yeah. You know,
or just send it to me and I'll post it.
Yeah, I'll send that to you. I'll send it to you now while I think about it. But like that literally was like, I was fucking drinking so much and I almost went back to drugs. So fucking close to going back to drugs. And that was actually...
Why were you drinking so much at that point?
Oh, I just fucking... I was just tired. I was just so tired all the time. And I think because when you're tired, you almost like... You want to lay down and go to bed, but you almost feel bad about doing it. So when you go to bed, you're almost like oh, fuck, I'm almost awake now. So when I was drinking, I would go home and I would drink and I would be focusing on the drinking rather than focusing on, being a better person or, trying to pick myself back up after the breakup and the knee and the blood clots and all that. I just put so much, like I'll actually go through probably a bottle of rum, bottle and a half of rum a week. And for me at the time, that was a lot because I was only having like an hour.
It's a lot in any fucking standard, right?
Like I was going and buying because only like $55.
Well, how much is how many standard drinks are in a bottle of rum? Like 40?
40 is it?
Well, I don't know. I'm just, wow. you keep talking. I'm going
to. So yeah, I would go and buy, because I get paid on Friday.
Yeah.
I'd go and get one on Friday night and I'd often have to work a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
But what it would be like, all right, cool. I've got a bottle of rum. I've got a couple bottles of Coke. I was there with my roommate and I'd be like, all right, cool. She's gone off to see her partner or she's away for the weekend.
16 standard drinks.
16 standard drinks. I was
well off the mark. Shows I don't drink enough.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Friday night, Saturday night would be about finishing that bottle of rum.
Yep.
And then I'd go and get another one to have of the night time through the week to get me through that week. And then it'd be like, so I got closer to Christmas, and I remember a lot of clients, unbeknownst to them, this is something I really appreciated, by the way, if you guys ever watch this, brought me a lot of alcohol as gifts. So bottles of rum, Jim Beam, which is just fucking yuck, but I drank that anyway.
Yeah, I was like, I thought you were about to praise it. I was like, mate, I might have to move your chair away a little bit.
Back a little bit. I'm from Warwick, so they'll drink anything. But beer and rum and Jim Beam, Jack Daniels. I even got shot buckets and things like that. So I was just like, yes, give it to me. And I was like drinking it all.
Yep.
I didn't care because there's so many times, and a few of the clients, if you ever watch this and you think about the times that I rocked up those couple of minutes late and I wasn't very happy, it's because I was hungover. Yeah. I was just hungover, rocking up to a gym to be the standard, to be the pinnacle of what you should be.
Look at the ripple effect of drinking. Like I'm more for going and having a good time, but nothing fucking annoys me more than someone who is struggling with their mental health or they don't know where they want to be in their life, and they continue to take the easy route. It's like, let's just drink.
Yeah.
Let's just drink. And I speak to so many people every week, and it's such a common thing. And my first thing is give up drinking. Maybe not forever, but for the foreseeable future. And they can't do it. And I understand there's addiction, there's dependency, there's all these things that are around it. So it's a bit more complicated than what I'm just saying. But if you were to just focus on that, you would be able to work through it and create a new habit or replace the habit of drinking with something else. For me, it's exercise. And while all addiction is not awesome, I'd much rather be addicted to exercise than drinking and consuming recreational drugs and stuff like that. So if you're in that position, first step, cut the fucking drinking out.
Yep, absolutely. And I can't stress that enough. I cannot stress that enough because it was something that you're in the middle of it and you're in your head, like there's a thing in your head like, why are you doing this? Don't do this. And you have another sip, have another sip, have another sip. And you just keep going and going and going. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm asleep now. Wake up tomorrow. Should be right.
You don't even sleep well. All this stuff around people thinking they sleep well from alcohol, it's proven that you don't. It's easier to get to sleep for some people. For me, I sleep like a brick anyway. But your actual quality of sleep is terrible.
Not to mention the caffeine and the coke and things like that, the sugar and the fact that your body goes into this hyperactive state because it's like, holy fuck, I'm being poisoned. I've got to get rid of this shit real quick. So it starts going into overdrive. So
every time I drink, like I use this Whoop, you got a Whoop band as well, right? So when you see from nights after you've had alcohol, it's always like literally 8 to 10 beats higher for my resting heart rate.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on. I don't like drinking alcohol much anymore. I had a few beers on the weekend and I only had about 6-8 beers with some of my friends and my little brother, and I had the most splitting headache and I was so sick. I was like so nauseous from these 6 drinks that I was like, oh, I'm done. Like I'm good. Like, and I find that now so much that when I drink now, there's something that that happens in my body that when I have about 4 or 5 beers, I'm like, I'm gonna go throw up. Like I feel real sick.
When you think about it logically, you're poisoning yourself. It would be literally like me saying, hey, have a bit of rat sack. And there's no difference. Like if you have 1 pellet as opposed to 10, you're still fucking eating poison. Yeah. It's the same with alcohol. It's just society has made it the norm, which once again, I'm not bad. I don't mind drinking. Yeah. But when you think about the negative ripple effects that it has, it's fucking stupid.
Well, it's funny you say that with the social norm. So when we did the first 12-week game plan at the start of this year with no drinking, I almost made it. I got very, very close. I had a couple of drinks at a concert with my mum that I went to, and it was fine.
What concert did you go to?
We went to it was called the Big Bash or like the Big Rave, where they have a DJ play like the 60s.
Like a festival.
It was kind of like a festival, but
nice.
It was like for people over 50. So it was like the 60s to 2020s music, and they played all the best hits.
That would have been amazing.
It was just a great day. I had a fucking fantastic day. And you wouldn't notice how sunburned I was in my head.
I remember when I said something to you.
That was that sunburn.
Yeah.
But it was a good day. But that whole time, so many people in my life were like, oh, we're going to go drinking. I'm like, I'll come, but I'm having Coke Zeros, or I'm having water, I'm having a Coke or a Sprite Zero. And it was like, you're not drinking? Like it was weird for me to not drink. Yeah. And the whole time when I was not drinking, like the amount of people who were like, oh, you're not drinking. Oh, like just got stumbled across their words. And it was like, I don't see what the big deal is. I'm going to have some Coke Zeros. I'm going to have a fucking good meal with you at the same time. I'm going to have a good time. I'm not some weird dude who's like preaching about some other fucking thing. I'm still going to be me. But
No, I wonder if that is just an Australian cultural thing, and for anyone listening from wherever you're tuning in from, if you feel like it doesn't happen where you live, let us know. Because I know in France, like it's a completely different relationship with alcohol. I love how they, make experiences with it. It's not about even for New Year's. Amy and I went over and had New Year's with Etienne 2-3 years ago or something like that. And literally at 12:05, Amy's like, "Are we doing the countdown and all that sort of stuff?" So it's like, no, it's just a long day. You go to each individual place, get your wines, get your champagnes, get your breads, get your cheeses, all that sort of stuff, and then just have a nice long conversational dinner for 5 hours.
That's cool.
Whereas for us, it's like we don't even really eat. Let's just get blotto.
And I'm going to go ahead and just say, scientifically proven that about 78.394% of Australians do not see 12:01 on January 1st.
Is that?
No, I just made it up.
That's a very, very accurate stat.
No, but I'd be confident if someone were to go and do the stats, I would be confident to be around that figure.
Yeah,
like
I just, even for me, I'm like, for what purpose do I want to stay up for midnight? I couldn't give a fuck. I'll celebrate it in the morning.
That's right.
I want to wake up feeling good, not wake up going.
I haven't seen New Year's in a few years, but the last time I did, like I was struggling to get to 11:59, and as soon as 12:01 hit, I was like, going to bed.
See ya. It's an interesting concept. But let's continue. So you mentioned a couple of moments ago, and I guess before we dive into suicide chat and suicidal ideation and suicide attempts, for anyone who is struggling, obviously seek professional help. There's so many incredible Lifeline. Lifeline is one of them, but call lines out there, helplines. Lifeline being 13 11 14. You can call that if you do need help, or even just build those relationships, check in on your mates, all those sorts of things. There's so many powerful warning signs like relationship breakdown, financial struggle, bereavement, and there's just so much that you can look for if you're wanting to build a good quality relationship with your mates and make sure that everyone's doing well. But over to you and your experiences, because we were even talking yesterday and you were like, I've written a suicide note at the start of the year.
Yeah.
That's fucking pretty much 4 months ago.
4 months ago. So I wrote it to keep in my pocket. So I wrote it to walk around with. And that sounds so weird, but to me it made sense. So I'll go through like in chronological order. So leading up to my very first attempt was in 2015. So 2015, to get to the end of the story, but then to talk about how I got there, my Blue Ute, I actually went down to, do you know past Victory Pocket? It's like, is it Jindalee?
I don't know that area too well, but yeah, let's just assume it's Jindalee.
I think it's Jindalee, and there's a Jindalee boat ramp, and you can go down there, and there's a really nice boat ramp that has a really nice car park. People launch their boats off into there all the time, and their jet skis, and you got like a nice little isle of river. So I got really plastered one night, and I was like, fuck this, fuck everything. I got drunk one night, and I drove my car into the Brisbane River. So that was what happened. But it wasn't until the water started coming in that I was like, I don't want to do this. And I like ran the car into reverse, and thank fuck it actually got out of there, because otherwise it would have been a very different story.
So just down the boat ramp, you just went...
Pretty much. It was like probably like a good 20-meter run up.
Yeah. I
just was like straight in and hit the water, and I had my seatbelt on. It fucking jolted me. And then as soon as I was like hit the water, I was like, oh, this is happening. And then the water was like a little bit coming in the door, and I like ran the car in reverse, and yeah, fucking floored it out of there. And I just sat back there, and I think I told you the other day, I went home. No one was the wiser. I went home and I went in bed, and I like laid awake all night, and I was just like sobbing in my bed all night.
So I can't believe you. So your car didn't like drift or anything?
No, it was a very calm, still night. And yeah, when I got in there, because I think it's like a lot of boat ramps go like that, but this one here is like kind of like longer. It's like very more like, I want to say an acute angle. Is that what it is? An acute angle? I think it's more like an acute angle. So yeah, luckily that was the case. Otherwise it'd be a very different story, and you might have a different guest here today.
So what was going on like in your life at that time that had you to that point? Like if we can even look at like things, was there relationship breakdowns? Was there financial stress? What was going on for you?
So it was a world of disappointment. Yep. So I felt like a disappointment. So growing up, I don't mean to talk ill about my father, but When it comes to my parents, we had this conversation a little while ago about how a parents or a father's ideals get projected onto their kids, and if you aren't like that, then you aren't exactly what they want. So growing up, Dad was always like, "You're going to grow up, you're going to get a trade, you're going to get married, and that's it. That's life." So growing up, I was like, I don't really know if I want to trade. I don't really know if I want to do that. I really want to go to the army because I was a very timid person. I was a very, very timid kid. And I found a lot of that intimidation and things like things like bullying. So bullying was quite harsh in my schooling because we went to, I think I went to nine or 10 different schools in my life. So we moved a lot. So when you go to a new school, you get hazed and you get like bullied and or whatever. You really make a lot of friends. And that happened a lot going through school.
Yep.
So, that's probably like where a lot of my social awkwardness comes from, a lot of that. Anyway, so when I graduated school, I was like, I want to go to the army. So I tried to get into the army. I tried for well over a year and a half, but then I got rejected because of my ear, because I'm deaf in my right ear. They don't allow that. And then, all right, cool. So I continued with my butchering trade, and I actually ended up getting a trade. Now, at the time, I was like, I don't really know if I want to do this. Like, this isn't really what makes me happy, but I'm going to do it because this is what life is meant to be. You grow up, you get a trade, you get married. That's it.
Yep.
So I was believing that I was like on this right path. But then as the years sort of flowed through, and I worked at that job for 4.5 to 5 years, and then, I was like, I'm really not fucking happy. I want to actually go down and do something different. So I moved down to Brisbane in start of 2015. So I moved down to Brisbane here. And I started looking for a job, and I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to get a job, and then I'm going to like go and find a passion. I'm going to go find something. Then at the time I was like paying off a car debt as well. So I had like a lot of money coming out of my account, and all this shit. So, when I found this job, I found another butchering job, and in that job, that was where like this plummet of darkness, it's plummet into darkness came about. So I was already disappointed in myself because I wasn't living the life I wanted to live, and I couldn't find another job because I needed to spend a lot of time at this current job to pay the bills and all sort of shit. And
did you feel trapped?
Oh fuck yeah, massively. I actually deleted a few statuses on my phone. I should have shown you them. I had one status on my phone the other day that came up as a memory where it was like, my heart tells me that I'm not where I'm supposed to be, but life is telling me I'm going nowhere fast. So I was like, holy shit, that came up, and yeah, it was a good memory to look back on. So the boss that I had at the time was quite actually abusive, and I was still only young. I was still only a 21, 22-year-old.
Yep.
And he was quite a intimidating person, and would come around all the time and be like, oh, mate, you're fucking better off dead. Like all this shit. Let's say actually legit right-handed God would say that.
That is fucked.
Oh, that's a lot of toxic
Even
butchering.
thinking about things like when you used to, I do remember saying from time to time, or having people say to me like, kill yourself. Like, obviously you don't mean it in that way at the time, but how it can be interpreted is exactly that.
Especially on an impressionable, weak mind.
Like, definitely.
Someone who's already thinking it. Like,
yeah, it's just, here's another thing that I can use to validate, all right, my belief.
Oh, you think I should? You think I should? So, so working there was very, very harsh on the mental health.
Yep.
And it wasn't until I had one day where I was actually thinking about, so where the house we were living in had a top deck and it had a balcony. And I was like, if I just put a noose on there and I just jumped off, how would that go? Like, but then I was like, I don't want anyone to find me. How could people not find me? So
why didn't you want anyone to find you?
I didn't want people to see that. I didn't want people to be like, fuck, I got to cut him down. I was living with my cousin and his roommate at the time, which is a good friend at the time. And I didn't want them to have that scar and that image in their head. So I was thinking about them. I was thinking about my siblings. I was thinking about it all. But I was like, yeah.
Even just when I hear stuff like that, though, it proves to me that while you're in the headspace that you're in, which is, once again, there's a lot of the time there's not much people can say. It still proves that you have, you're carrying nature and all these brilliant qualities about yourself that obviously you can't see in that moment. But for me, it's just like, well, the fact that you care about that shows that you're a good person, shows that you have potential. And it's just like, I wish people could see that when they're going through that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that. But I remember this one day. So being a butcher, and really struggling. I didn't even know I had depression.
Yep.
I didn't even know I had it. I didn't even know that I was going through it. There was one day I was legit cutting up on the table, and I must have woke up 30 seconds later. I went into this trance. My vision went black, and all I could think about was cutting my wrist right then and there, down the long ways, no coming back from that, right then and there. And then I was like, I woke up 30 seconds later, I was like, oh, I better go back to work. Went back to work. And that was the first, I was like, oh, that was intense. That was like a proper like vision of me doing it.
Yep.
And then, yeah, so there was that vision, and then the noose vision, and then there was just constant like degrading myself. Like I wasn't earning a lot of money. I was struggling with rent and internet bills, and I was struggling with like my car payments. I was behind in everything. And one thing that, like, I don't want to put any blame on anyone here. This is something that was just my own thing. I saw people around me having a lot of success.
Yep.
And I wasn't having any success. Anyway, and then in that time, there was like a lot of drugs, a lot of smoking weed. I would go to work high and drunk like all the time, cutting up things on a bandsaw. I'd be like fucking like, oh man, I shouldn't be doing this. We would get blazed like fucking, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 plus times a week. It would always be happening. And I was always drinking. Anyway, that was
8, 9, 10 plus times a week. You mean multiple times a day, right? You didn't have a 10-day week that I don't know about.
No, nothing like that.
It's like, give me the time,
Give me the time, mate. No, it was all the time. It'd be like, there's a bit left in that fucking cone. I'm gonna take that real quick at 4:55 a.m. before I go to work at 6:30. Just to get a buzz on, just to fucking not feel for a little bit. And that was what was going on for quite a while, which is really bad for the headspace. Anyway, got out of that job eventually. So that boss was so toxic. He was such a toxic person. So what happened was he's facing cash, right? And there was one day where I was like, man, I'm struggling for money today. I got to pay my bill at 3:30. Do you reckon you pay me my cash like for my weekly pay like now? And I'll go bank it and I'll come back real quick. He goes, oh yeah, that's fine. Gave me like my 4 weeks wage with like still like that a Friday afternoon and that Saturday to work. Packed up my gear and went home. I just like went home. I was like, you know, this is my little fuck you to you. This is my little thing. Because he was such a toxic person. I was like, I need this little win. And then and then after that job, I got a different job, and then.
Oh, so you never went back after that?
No, I was gone. He called me up a few times, and I was just kind of on the phone, just kind of like, you want something? Like, what's going on, mate? He's like, you took my money. I'm like, did I? You paid me. Like, you gave me the money. Like, anyway, it wasn't a good thing to do, but at the time it felt right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so after that, a few months went by, working at a different job, and then that is when I eventually was just like, I'm so fucking done, because I was having like my depression was like actually rubbing off my roommates as well, which is causing our relationship to break down a bit.
Yeah. And
then there was that, and then there was a lot of other things that was going on in terms of like struggling with money and family, that I was just like, I've had enough. Like I can't do this anymore. And that's when I drove down on a Saturday night and got drunk, and I tried to drive my car into the river.
Yep.
So,
well, thank fuck you hit reverse, man. Because it's been, and I don't want to speak without the reference, but there has been things to show that like when a suicide attempt goes down, a lot of the time from a survivor's perspective, they have that moment where they go, oh fuck, what am I doing? I want to live. And it's just like, whether it's snapping them out of a funk or whatever that is for the individual. And that's why, like, you know, Wes, who was a big reason why the Story Bridge has the cages over the side of it now, is because they've proven that. It's like,
and they've got the Lifeline.
Yeah. But if you can hold someone for a minute or whatever, and just let them sort of have like go through that emotional. I know that it's sort of like that moment you went through when you hit the water and you're like, fuck, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
If you can create that for them in a safe way, you can save a lot of lives.
Yeah. And it just shows love.
Yeah.
Like, and it shows the possibility of love, like a stranger.
But it also just shows where people can get to. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. And one of the most frustrating things is people go, I understand that. It's like, no one understands I don't understand what you went through. I can maybe relate to certain things, but I don't understand what it was like for you. No one fucking ever will.
Yeah, and that's the same with me with other people. Like I have my experience and everyone else has their experience.
Yep.
And that's something that's unique to it, I guess. And something that pardon me, I think that's something that really like resonates with you internally, where you kind of like you almost go through this like journey of thought in about 3 seconds. This whole thing. And that's what happened. And I was like, oh, fuck. And then I put the car in reverse and got out of there and went home. And then it's like doing a massive big deadlift. like dead set. Random comparison. You do like a 500 kilogram deadlift and you put it down and your central nervous system is just like, I'm cooked.
Yeah.
That's what it was like.
We've been building up, there's a physiological response to guilt, pain, shame, embarrassment, all that sort of stuff. And if you've been carrying it around to the point where you're going to do something like that, harm yourself, when it releases, your body's just going to be like,
and that's what happened.
Floods over yourself.
Yeah. I was flooded with emotions, and I was so glad because at that house we were all very open. There was nothing wrong with coming into your mate's room at like 11 p.m. being like, "Oh, bro, we're going to get on. Do you want to come out and have a few drinks?" Like there was nothing wrong with that. I'm so glad that night that didn't happen because I was like a mess.
Yep.
So fast forward a few years, and this is one extremely toxic relationship later.
I just want to ask, what happened next? Like, what were the next steps for you from that moment to sort of build yourself back up?
I think
Or did you build yourself back up? Or
I think it was a scare. It was almost like a big horror scare, like this frightening thing. And you kind of like, oh, I don't want to feel like that again. Like, oh, that's really terrifying to think about now. That's in your history now. Like that's something that's a chapter in your life that you always have. And it's scary to think about. Like even now talking about it, I'm just kind of like, oh, fuck, it's uncomfortable. But yeah, it's like that little scare onto the right path. Like it's like that scare that really put me like, okay, what can I do now? And that's actually when I found PT, like when I found going to fit college to become a PT. And I was like, all right, I've got to do this. This is going to be something that I can really do. So I started really focusing and just sinking my teeth into becoming a PT. And
so you created purpose for yourself.
Yeah, I created because I was just busy. Like I was just busy. I wasn't even training. I was completely poisoning myself all the time, and I was just working. So I was like, I need another purpose. And that's when I found becoming a PT. So like I was just fully immersed into the modules and fully immersed into becoming that because I still loved fitness. I still played football. I still did all that competing beforehand. But I was like, oh, maybe I could do this. And that's when I found getting into things like Spartan racing. So I put myself on a new trajectory that was healthy. And thankfully this new job that I was at allowed me to do that. Not working like 12 plus hours a day. I was only working 8 hours a day with all this free time. It's like, oh, there's a gym over there. I can go to that gym and train. Or my friends are going to go to a Spartan race. Maybe I'll train for that. So and I'll book in for that. So I think before that, driving the car into the river, if you said, hey, you want to be a PT and do you want to go train and go do Spartan racing? I was like, no, I'm pretty good. I'm all right. But then after that, it was like, this seems like something I would really like to do. This seems something that I could be really good at. So
I think that's a good thing to become aware of is like if you're feeling stuck or in a rut or anything like that, just go do. I was listening to a podcast a couple of weeks ago and they're like, just pick 8 things. 8 things that maybe you will be interested in. Maybe you'll like. You don't know until you try it and just go do them within a month. So it's going to be a busy month. Yeah. But then when you experience them, ask yourself, one, did I enjoy that? And would I like to continue doing that? You're going to get a yes or a no.
Yeah.
Secondly, from that, it's like, if it's a no, well, what was there anything that I liked about it or what didn't I like about it?
Yeah. Yep.
And you're going to be building self-awareness and gaining a greater understanding of who you are. This is why, like, they say that life's really wasted on the youth because we don't have the self-awareness. We don't have the understanding, the experience, the knowledge that you get as you go through life, which would make being a young guy fucking so much funner because it's like you don't waste your time on the things that aren't important. You don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So moving forward, so I think it's important that we, like I said, if you're lost, confused or any of that sort of stuff, grab 8 things, get it done in a month, give yourself some feedback and then do more of what you like and start building from that because as you said, getting into the healthier lifestyle, then connected you with people who were doing Spartan race. Some people might not have that in their environments, but then you start hanging around people who are like, yeah, I'm fucking keen for that.
Yeah.
Or I'm keen for this, or they might introduce you to things, right?
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
And it wasn't until I did my first Spartan race that I actually did really, really well.
Yep.
It was 28 kilometers on the day, and I think it was 46. No, so that's 56 hurdles, obstacles, because they do two obstacles every kilometer.
Yep.
So, I got through that, and I think it was like 4 hours.
Yep.
And to me, that was like a really good. Like, I was expecting to be there all day.
Yep.
But I got through it in I think it was like maybe 3 hours, 55 minutes. I can't remember the time exactly, but I got through it so much quicker than I thought I was going to, and I was so proud of myself, and I was so happy with myself that all of a sudden, this gym that I was training at, it had all the right stuff. So I started putting a lot of energy into training for that to do it again, because I was like, I want to keep this feeling.
Some good feedback.
And a friend of mine, Jess, we did it together. Another friend of ours, Clayton, did it as well, and we all just had the best day. It was such a great day, and we're like, oh, we got to do this again. We got to do it again. Come on, the next one. Yeah.
Mate, and this is the thing, right? So many people set a goal. They often change some of the behaviors that they do in order to achieve that goal. They may eat healthier, they may cut out drinking or various things like that. But what happens when the goal finishes? For most people, they don't have the next goal. So they revert back to the habits that they had prior, which is why most people do amazing in 6-week challenges or 12-week challenges, and then their life goes back to not being as great as it was. So it's important, once you achieve a milestone, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
Continue to grow, continue to challenge yourself, continue to create direction for your life.
I think it's important to have that milestone in the future before that first one even finishes.
Yep.
I love that
100%.
overlap. Like we finished the game plan, and we were already talking about the next game plan before the game plan even finished.
Yeah.
And I love that, because that's what people really need. They don't just be like, okay, cool. Like you said, 12-week challenge. 12-week challenges, done. That's it. Go back to your normal habits. Go back to your normal eating. Go back to the way you're exercising before. Done. Like, it doesn't work. It's a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
So when it came down to it, we were already looking at like, oh, cool. Spartan Race does Brisbane. It does Gold Coast. It does Sydney. It does this here. And I was like, let's book in for them. Like, let's put them on our calendar. Let's train for them. Let's save money for it, you know? And that was what was really helpful too. Like you just said, people don't have that second milestone, and they need to. And we were already doing that.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a key takeaway, man.
100%. 100%. And I was so grateful that we did too. But the only problem was, when I became a PT, I was like a string bean. Hey, I was so lean because I was built for running.
Yep.
And I was so skinny, and I was working out at this one gym, and I was trying to like get clients. Yep. And at the time, this is when like bodybuilding was like back in its boom.
Ducks nuts.
Oh, mate. Trying to get a client, that was impossible.
I don't get how people get into bodybuilding. It's just one thing I've never gravitated to.
I did it because I didn't know of other styles yet.
Yep.
So when I first started going to gym, back it was like 2012, when I started my first Anytime Fitness, me and my mate, we were going there all the time, and we were just going there. One, it was a social thing.
Yep.
So
keep going.
I was going to say, and two, one was a social thing. Two, it was fucking a de-stressor from work, because he was a Boilermaker, I was a butcher. So big, long days of work. And we were also like, oh, cool, we're losing weight, we're gaining muscle, we're getting more confident in ourselves.
Yep.
Why wouldn't we keep doing this?
Yep.
You know? So, and then it wasn't until I found out, when I found out about your more functional sort of training and your more endurance training for things like ultras and Spartan races, I was like, shit, I want to learn more about that. And thankfully I did too, because I learned a lot about it in Fit College. And I was like, cool, I'm going to apply this to me. And then not long after that, I found CrossFit. So it's expanded. I know. It fucking sucked me in.
Sucks everyone in, doesn't it?
I heard its siren call, and I listened to its song, and I was like, mate, I am hooked, line and sinker for this sport, for this style of training.
Yep.
And that's when I went to CrossFit Cooperoo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So fast forward, like you were saying before I sort of backtracked you. And
no, that was good. I'm glad we got onto that, because I don't know why. I just brushed over that.
Yeah. But so then where we got to, you were saying a couple of years later.
Yeah, so a couple of years later, and I was in this toxic relationship, and it was really, really bad. And all the time there was a lot
What were the warning signs that made it toxic for you?
Well, for starters, my one thing I hate, I don't hate a lot of things, but one thing that really grinds my gears, if someone calls someone else, oh, you're pathetic, or you're small, or you're a weak C-U-N-T. I really hate that.
Cunt.
Weak cunt. And I fucking hate that. She would do that.
Yep.
And she would be like, I know you hate being pathetic, but you are pathetic. Like, and I was like, oh, fuck. And then I would almost feel like, holy fuck, like, this is my fault. This is fucking, I am a bad cunt. Like, I am fucking causing all this shit in this fight. And I just blame myself. And that's why I probably stuck with her for a little while, because I was just like, I don't know. I was just fucking in this weird.
Dependent?
Probably dependent. Probably like, I don't know. I got no idea. It was a very different time, very different Mitchell.
If you were to know, though?
If I was to know, it'd probably just be guilted, like very guilted into staying. Because I remember I tried to leave a few times. And
Guilt's an interesting thing, though, that I think we choose to hold on to. Everyone has permission to let go of it. So as much as that, you know, you can talk to all the right people, you can do a lot of that stuff. For me, from my experience and my belief around it, is you got to make the decision to let it go. Like, why the fuck are you holding on to it? Is it to punish yourself? Is it makes you feel like you got something, maybe attaching yourself to a victim mentality? What is it? And so, like, guilt is something that we need to learn to let go of to live a better quality of life.
Yeah, 100%. And I was I was feeling so guilty, or every time I'd be like, you know what, I'm done with this relationship, there'd be like this guilt thrown at me, and like, oh fuck, all right, and you'd stay, you'd do your thing, and like I never let go of it. Like, it'd be something that would always be brought up to almost trap me in a little bit, but not to completely like blame. I'm 100% at responsibility as well. Like, I know I was in a bad time, and I was still a piece of shit as well. But once that ended, it ended in a horrible, horrible way where her and her family were just like, nah, we all hate you. You're a fucking CUNT, like all this sort of shit. And, so I'd gone to, get help from a counselor, and they got me onto some antidepressants. Yep. And I told them about how I sometimes get these panic attacks. So I had one in the middle of a dance club one time, horrible, horrible experience. And I didn't even know what was happening. I just was like, fuck. And I was so like I was hyperventilating, I was sweating, I was blown away by this feeling of anxiety. I told them about that, and they gave me antidepressants, and they gave me Valium as well. So when the breakup happened, I ended up moving in with a mate, and again, lo and behold, patterns do ensue, where I started drinking again, and I started getting into that really self-loathing kind of cycle of mentality. I was at home, at my mate's place. And it's Valium, but it was like diazepam. So it was like, I don't know, a minor, smaller, hit of Valium. And I was sitting there, and I was drinking this bottle of rum, and I was almost finished with it. And I was like, I'd take a couple of pills. So I ended up taking like 12 or 15. I can't remember. I ended up taking like a lot.
Yeah.
There's like a whole,
what
are they called? Like a strip of pills? Like one of those, a whole one, and plus some more. And I was like, yeah, I'll go to bed. If I wake up, I wake up. If I don't, I don't. And I went to bed. I woke up, and I was like, I guess I woke up. So it was kind of like fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one was not as heavy as the first one.
Yep.
That was just kind of like, it wasn't planned. It wasn't anything like that. It was just kind of like, in the moment, it's just kind of like, I feel pretty shit. I'm just going to keep doing this and see what happens.
See what happens, yeah.
See what happens. And woke up the next day, and I got revved. I got so in trouble by my mate because he went in there. At the time, he was one of my really good mates. He went in there, and he found the empty strips of the pills. Walks in. He's like, what the fuck? Why is there an empty bottle of rum? Why are all these pills gone? What did you do? And he like gave me a fair ripping. And I was like, I needed that. That was good. Like, I needed that. And pulled my head in pretty quickly. And so that's when like I started like getting myself back on a good track again, because I'd stopped training. I'd been shit. I was suffering with a lot, and that's what started me in this new relationship, which was great. It really put me on the right path. And yeah, that was great. But I was still like margining my shit mental health into the start of this new relationship. And I remember there was one time we went to like a family gathering, and it was a great night. Everyone had a great time. Went home. I was just standing there. She was standing there, and I just broke down in tears. I don't know why. I just broke down in tears into her neck. I just stood there and cried for like 10 minutes. I don't know why. I just did. And it was just so like, I don't know why, I just broke down so much. And it was like overwhelming emotion all the time. Like, oh, fuck, I just hate my life. I hate me and I hate all this shit.
Was it a cry for help? Or
I really don't know. I really couldn't tell you. I think it was kind of like
well, what came from it? Like, did you just feel relieved to let it all out, or?
I think it was actually that.
Yeah.
I think it might have been that actually. I never really thought about it until now. That yeah, when I was standing there and I just broke down in tears. I think it was at the time like it was like a holy fuck, I can be safe here and I can let it all out and I can do this and this is great because I haven't cried in so long.
Yeah.
You know, I just got it all out.
Emotional management, bro.
Yeah, it was like that.
It's so important to have a space, even if it's for yourself, like in the office or whatever it is, just have a space where you can actually just sit there and think, contemplate how your life's going. And if it gets emotional, it gets emotional, but also feel comfortable to let it out. Because if you continue to bottle it up, it's like fucking boiling water with a lid on it, and eventually it's going to start going.
Pretty much, yep. And you got fucking boiling water everywhere. It's spilling on other shit. It's fucking ruining the steak.
You know, this is why, because a lot of blokes don't know how to do this. This is why like men's groups are so powerful. Breathwork's becoming so powerful, and so even like programs like the Strong Men of Value is because you're putting men in environments where it's spoken about. They can learn the tools and ways of doing this, and they can learn to, I guess, step in or lean into the emotions that they're experiencing and be vulnerable. And there's nothing fucking more satisfying than just letting the pressure valve off and walking out feeling energized, focused, and clear for the first time in a long time.
Yeah. It's one of those things. It's one of those things in your head. It's just ricocheting around all the time. It's just constantly like going around all the time. And then when you get into like a men's group or you get into a safe space and you start to vent a little bit, the ricocheting and all the noise just becomes a little bit less and less because you're getting it out. Like you're venting it and
lifting a little bit,
lifting the lid off. That valve
steams out,
steam out. Like, and not ruining all the other shit around. You're not getting mad. You're not bloody ruining situations or friendships or relationships. You're doing it in a healthy way because the person across from you or the person you're with or whatever you're doing, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, I know, like, when you're finished, I can tell you my story. Like I can, you know, tell you my part.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I think I had a conversation with someone really recently and they were asking me about the Man in Canberra project. And I said, bro, I guarantee, because he was telling me about how he was struggling, and I was like, I guarantee something you're going through, you put a message out there or you put a post out, and I guarantee at least 1 to 10 people will be like, bro, send me a DM or send me a number, I'll give you a call.
Yep.
Because you just know that there's going to be one person out there who is struggling with that exact thing as well.
Yep.
Or who has struggled with that exact thing. You know?
And it creates this, it's like, it's reciprocal because one, someone's getting to vent what they're going through. And from the flip side, it's allowing someone to give. Right? And when you give, it's the most rewarding feeling of all time. Like it's impossible to be upset and frustrated when you're walking away going, I just had the most incredible conversation. I gave them advice. Like I feel empowered now. And it's this incredible reciprocal relationship now that's being created. And it's free. Like people can connect. It's just having the space and learning the tools to do so.
It's an unspoken two-way street.
100%.
Like, unspoken. Like people don't need to say, I'm giving this information for this. It's not a means to an end. It's just here's some help. Here's some advice. Here's what I would do. You know, it's like what Ollie said last week. He's like, I can't guide, I can't, hold your hand and carry you, but here's what I do and here's what helps me. And I hope that helps.
Yep. If it doesn't, keep looking.
Keep looking because it's like with PT. Like you're not going to nail the program every time on the first run. You put them through it the first week. Hey, that didn't work. Let me go and fix it. Like, I love doing that all the time. I'd be like, hey, this is just the trial we're going to use. And then next week, if you didn't like whatever you didn't like, well, I can go through and we'll do it again.
Start again.
And we'll find what works for you. Yep. And I love that. And I love the fact that, that you can be confident in yourself to do that. Like, you love that you can be like, don't just be like, that didn't work. I'm a failure. I'm failing. You go into the spiral.
Yep.
Then like, that didn't work. What else can I do? What else can I search for?
And a lot of that's conditioning though as well. Like you've got to, if that's the way you react or respond to situations like that, then you need to take it back a further and go, why am I talking to myself that way? What is going on in a dialogue that's my default response?
Yeah.
Or even if it may be always your default response, but why am I not following it up with something better?
Yeah.
Something more empowering. And that's when you then got to go, okay, well, maybe the issue is I need to address how I fucking talk to myself.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to start finding worth in myself. I need to start gaining evidence to support the beliefs that I want to have about myself. But unfortunately, a lot of people have lost the ability to question things, and they've also lost the ability to answer because it's so common for people to go, I don't know, and just get let off the hook.
Yep.
It's like challenge yourself or hang around people who will challenge you to come up with an answer. Even if it's wrong, it's still better than nothing because now you've got something to work with.
Yeah.
That's how you grow.
And you've got to have gotten that from somewhere too. Like
100%.
And when you got that from, you reach out to that source because you're like, holy fuck, that I like that. Like that is what I need to pursue right now. And you reach out to that source, and most of the time you'll get a response, might not get it back, but once you get a ballpark of what that thing is, you'll be like, cool, I'll find another avenue for that. I'll find another source of that, you know? And, which is really good because I was just thinking about it just then, especially with like, I know me, but I know like a lot of cultures, they find a lot of value in what's the term for it, where you put yourself down, but through humor.
Oh, well, fuck. I was going to say negging, but it's belittling yourself.
Yeah, like belittling yourself through humor. And I did that, and I know a lot of people who do that. And then when they say all the time, it's kind of like, are you being serious? Like, is that a joke? Or are you being serious?
Talk to yourself.
Don't do that. Like, and then
I said that to my mother-in-law this morning. She said something. I was like, why the fuck would you say that? You would never say that to anyone else.
I've had people call me up on it so many times because I'll be like, oh, sorry, I'm just a dumb cunt. And they'll be like, why would you say that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, because then all of a sudden.
It's conditioning.
But not only that, the response you were expecting was a laugh.
Yep.
But they've just called you out your bullshit. Now you've got to be vulnerable. And now you've got to be like, I have to tell them something real. I have to be real. Fuck, I have to be serious. I can't just hide behind humor right now. And then, and it's going to get found out because people can see through that in a fucking second.
Yep.
Yeah, which is great. I love that.
Definitely. Mate, we're flying through time as well.
I'll just go through one more.
Oh, mate, 100%.
How much time we got left?
A couple of minutes.
Cool. All right, I'll go through this. So I want to talk about the suicide note that I wrote at the start of the year.
Yeah, I want to hear about it.
So when it came to me dealing with a lot of the things that finished off last year, I had a moment where I was like, when like you're like, I don't really like how I'm acting right now. I don't really like what I'm doing right now. I had a moment where I was like, I fucking hate myself. If I was another person and if I wasn't me and I met me, I wouldn't be their friend. Like I wouldn't be their mate. I wouldn't want to do anything. I wouldn't want to have anything to do with them. It's
a pretty tough thing to say.
That was a really strong passion of not liking myself that I had at the time. And it was something that I was really like, and that's when I wrote it. Mm-hmm. I wrote it all, but then right as we were going into the first 12-week game planner, I wrote, how can I not be that person? How can I be someone who I like? How can I be someone who, if I was another person and I met me, I would like that person? What would that person look like?
Great question.
Like, how am I going to act from now on that just emanates who I really am and who I can be? That's why I wrote it. And that's when it put me on this journey now, this year's journey, which is going a lot better than I thought it was going to go.
And have you binned the note?
Have I binned it? No, I've still got it at home. Yeah, I've still got it. It's there. It's all written in a journal with a lot of other stuff. And I think, eventually I'll bin it, rip it up, throw it away, burn it, do whatever the hell I have to do with it. But it was one of those things where I was like, cool, that's a reminder. I need to become someone who I want to fucking be mates with.
But why don't you make the reminder that you want to become someone that you want? Like, why don't you make the note about, that's where visions come in.
Yeah.
Helpful. It's like you're writing your future self if you want that to be the reminder. Because from my experience and opinion, there's pain and pleasure that motivate people. But if you're using pain, obviously, for me, it was always I wanted to get as far away from possible, far away from that version of myself as possible. And I held on to that, and that was still a part of my identity because I still spoke about it a lot. And all that was doing was holding me back. Right? Whereas now I talk about who I'm going to become or where I am now, right? Yeah. And I don't fucking really ever think about it unless I'm sharing a story, but it's not there to go, this is the reason why I got to get up every day and do this and do this and do this. It's like the reason why I'm getting up every day is because I'm excited about the possibility. I'm excited about the opportunity. And I think so many people fall back because they don't let go.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. Yep. And that's why I challenge you to fuck that note off.
Yeah. Yep. I'll send you a video of me burning it.
And right where you're going. Yeah. Like it's once again, just writing a note's not going to fucking change your life, but it's much nicer to read about the opportunity and the possibilities for where you're going and what you need to learn and how life's going to turn out for you than fucking reading something that's not that way inclined.
Well, it's like people who, like you said the other day, you were like people who live with their head turned backwards because they're fucking holding on to that.
Yep.
Like, oh, I can't do this because this happened and it's fucked me up and I can't hold on to it because I'm going to use it as an excuse or I'm going to use it for my victimhood.
Yep.
That's what I was doing. Big emphasis on the big fucking capitals of WAS was doing. And now it's like, cool, I'm looking forward. And like you just said, I'm waking up excited. And I sent an email to Darren the other day. I was like, mate, hands down, best fucking place I've ever worked at. Like, I legit get up and get excited to come to work. That's a fucking first for me. Like, I love that. I love fucking getting ready to go for a 12-hour uni session. I love that.
Yeah.
That's me looking forward. That's supposed to be
exactly. And that's you. But once again, you've got here, if you look at the last, what are you, 28?
Yep.
Yeah. So look at the last 28 years of your life. There's been ebbs and flows, and that's what fucking life is. Like there is no one who has a clean run, right? So for anyone who's going through a tough time at the moment, that, you know, as much as we all wish we could help you through it, it's like that's there for you for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? The goal is to, who do you need to become to get out of that? Because who you become in the process is going to get you ready for the next step. Right? And this is how you've learned to get to a point where for the first time in your life, you're fucking stoked, like completely stoked. It's taken 28 years to get there. The other thing is you may not stay there, but you are now aware that it's possible for yourself.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I know, like, okay, cool. If I'm having a downward time, it's like, hang on, you know what? You are surrounded by amazing people, amazing influencers. Like, utilize that. Don't
like
just fucking be in the
Instagram influencers or just influencers?
No, like fucking Lachie Stuart and that. But like, just like when I say influencers, I mean like training and just like and love of life. And like you walk down the street and you can see people who are happy and you can see this like, go fucking touch some grass because people spend too much time inside.
Yep.
That sort of thing.
Yep.
You know, and I love that. So. And that's what's going to be the new thing, like not taking drugs, not fucking drinking all the time, not getting to these fucking like self-loathing episodes. It's, okay, cool. What can I do to get back to where I was? I was that really fucking tall and I'm going to fucking stay there. Like, that's what it's like.
Yeah, brilliant, man. I love that. And thanks so much for coming on and talking about that because it's, you know, as we said, Lifeline, there's Black Dog Institute, there's so much professional help that, you know, I highly encourage people to go get into that because, you know, you'll look back and go, I'm so grateful I did that. And it's also not a sign of weakness. It's we're looking to level up always. And I always have my hand up because there's things that I need to work on and I need to improve on. And a lot of it I can't do by myself.
Yeah.
Right. So it's needing the support of other people. So thanks for coming on to talk about that, mate, and burn that fucking letter. And, you know, grateful that you're still here because you've got so much to offer. And as you said, there was 20 to 30 people who came in and spoke to you about the last episode. I'm sure you're going to have more from this one.
Even if there's just one, I would love that. Even if there's just one person, that still makes my heart full. Yeah.
We'll see you guys in the Strongmen of Value Academy. And remember, I've been finishing the podcast with this.
Yeah.
Do something today that's going to make you better for tomorrow.
I love that. That's great. Appreciate it, brother.
Let's go for a steak. Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachie Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time.